Okay, so it's not Valentine's Day, it's not even my birthday, but we are going to make a show-stopping dessert for dinner tonight. That way we can, show the ones that we love how much we appreciate them, and at the same time knock their socks off with something that is only a little more difficult than Rice Krispie treats. So I've been cooking for my family since I was 8 years old, and when I had been cooking for 25 years, I decided I wanted to make a souffle. But the first time I looked at the recipe, I thought, this is impossible. It has a terrible reputation. It's known for falling at the first available second. It collapses if you walk too heavily in your kitchen. It is known to be technically difficult. The only place people tend to order it is in super fancy French restaurants for holidays. So, with that, Mark Bittman, who writes the food column for the New York Times, asked people what they wanted to know how to make the most for Valentine's Day. And overwhelmingly, they said chocolate souffle. And I think that they thought that it was going to be this time-intensive, technique-intensive dish. It really isn't. There are basically 2 techniques. The first one is whipping your meringues until they hold stiff peaks. And you can either do that with a stand mixer or a handheld mixer or a balloon whisk, which we all have whisks in our kitchen, but they probably don't do anything other than stir the scrambled eggs in the, in the saute pan. So there are some tricks that you can use to make that work a little more easily and make them more guaranteed to stand up. So the first technique is that when you separate your eggs are basically water, protein, and fat in a shell. And so what you want to do is you want to separate the fat, the yolk, from the protein water part, which is the egg white. And you don't want to have any streaks of yellow. So basically, if you crack the egg on a flat surface, as opposed to the side of a bowl, then you're guaranteed to not have any pieces of shell in your bowl when you're trying to separate this. Don't crack it into teacups. Don't crack it into things. Crack it into your hand. You'll see, you'll have the egg yolk. You won't have any extra utensils that keep you from, having the egg white will fall away. The yolk will be in your hand. It's done. You just have to wash your hands when you're done and you're free, So that's the first thing is just getting your egg whites separated. When you get it into the mixing bowl, whether you're going to beat it by hand or not, add a little cream of tartar. It acidifies your egg whites just enough to keep it so that it holds the air and that it whips up more beautifully. And so when you get done, if you are whisking by hand, get your next strongest loved one involved so that you can go back and forth and, whip them up. But it only takes about maybe 5 minutes of whipping to get them into stiff peaks. If you have a stand mixer, it takes 2 minutes, and you just turn it on and whoo, they're done. So that's the first technique that you need to master, but modern kitchen equipment makes this really easy. The second technique is folding. People more often than not like to stir things, like they see the commercials and they get it and they stick their spoon down in their bowl and they stir it, and when they do that, they crush all the air right out that they've spent the last maybe 5 or 10 minutes arduously putting into their meringue. So when you fold, and I'll show you how to do it, it's really easy, you basically just take your spatula and you scoop under, and you go over, and you cut down into it, and you scoop under, and you're just basically creating just a folding motion so that kind of like you're folding with a spoon, like if you were just take your sheets with the spoon and you were to fold them over the top. It's very easy. And after a couple of minutes, it all comes together. So let's get started. You can make a souffle in basically 1, 2, 3. So for every 4 egg whites, you need 3 egg yolks, 1/3 cup of sugar, and 2 to 4 ounces of good chocolate. You can add vanilla if you'd like. You can add Grand Marnier. You can add a tablespoon of basically any flavor that you want to add that'll enhance your, your dessert. This is 3 egg yolks and a 1/3 cup of sugar that I whipped up with a whisk in a bowl. It has a lot of air in it. Air is your secret ingredient that isn't on the recipe, but it is what lifts the dessert. Once you put it into the oven, it expands with the heat, and it makes a beautiful, airy, molten dessert. So you take that, and this is your good chocolate, and it is not as critical at this stage whether you keep the air in your dessert, but if you want to just see your method, you're just scooping underneath and pulling over the top. So, Patrick, what do you think about all this chocolate here? It's going to be really delicious. When I was trying to plan out the speech, I had a number of candidates for my 3rd person. And one by one, something befell kind of all of them. And so this morning, when I was eating my coffee at Starbucks, I desperately asked the girl at the takeout window. And I'm fairly certain that she was convinced that I was a kidnapper that was just offering chocolate souffle as opposed to lost puppies as my inducement. But needless to say, here we are. So when you do your egg whites and you want to incorporate them into your batter, all you do is you start with 1/4 or 1/3 of your egg whites. And the reason why you do this is so that it makes it easier to incorporate the rest of them when you add the rest. So that it's just one of those things that once there's enough air into it, it all easily just kind of comes together. And it's one of these things where when you're looking at it, it kind of looks like it's all going the wrong way, like it's not mixing. But if you just keep cutting it and pulling it over the top, then it will slowly come together. So now we can add the rest of these in, the rest of our meringue. And souffle is tough. It is not like the fabled diva in the oven that you have to tiptoe around your kitchen. The protein and egg whites make a really good structure. So long as you don't, go in there and abuse them, they will happily make the foundation of your dessert. So you're just making a scooping motion, and we are coming together. One of the nice things about this is that you don't have to go to a fancy restaurant. You can wait till the kids go to bed. It takes about 20 minutes max to whip this together. That's if you're taking your sweet time and drinking a glass of wine along the way. But once it comes together like this, then it's just going to go into a prepared dish. This is a souffle dish. It's about 1.5 quarts. I made this large one since we're going to all share it when it's all done. But I just buttered it, sugar, and now we're just going to fill it up. As you can see, I'm not really being too delicate with it. The souffle is basically 2 parts, but the air is the thing that you want to, that's the thing you're creating with souffle. Okay, so normally this would all come up to the very rim of your dish, but I did not plan well enough here. So just flatten your top. The flatter it is, the higher it'll rise. And then you just take this and you put it in the oven for 20 minutes at 350. So just 1 second and I will go get our prepared souffles. Okay, so if Martha Stewart was, you ready? So if Martha Stewart was doing this, she would have 2 identical just souffle dishes. But as you can see, these rose a nice ½ inch above. I didn't do anything different for these. And, hopefully, what you can see, it's a nice molten dessert on the inside, and it's cracked on the top, which is what should happen. And it's a wonderful dessert to add to your repertoire. So, in conclusion, despite all appearances, even long fabled reputation to the contrary, souffles are easy, elegant desserts that any modern cook can add to her repertoire. Go home and make a chocolate souffle. You'll impress your loved ones and make them feel really appreciated. Bon appetit!